Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How's everybody doing? I'll give it a little while, wait for some people to come in. Hope your Tuesday has been pretty super. I got my went out to vote sticker. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start taking questions. Let's see. I'm 100% permanent and total. I just received Social Security. Is there any additional benefits to look for? Thank you. Not beyond the ones you already had at 100% permanent and total. Basically, there are a ton of benefits for 100% permanent and total. Federal benefits, like your dependents get CHAMP VA and things like that. And then there's state benefits, and you should look for those state benefits. Now that you're disabled, I don't know of any particular benefits geared towards SDI itself, but you should certainly look out for state benefits and things like that. VA examiner put that I had a cyst on my wrist removed, but I didn't. I had a bone removed in my wrist for $10 and have metal and screws. Cyst removal isn't in my records at all. How do I fix this? I would claim specifically what you have and what you had done. And the examiner will likely fix a diagnosis in your next exam. But I would claim specifically bone, well, that's not the diagnosis. The diagnosis has to be whatever it was. But make sure there isn't a cyst at all in those medical reports before you go that route. Complex question. I'm here for it. Okay. I was currently rated at 90% since 2012. I submitted a claim December 2019 for an increase for currently rated migraines, 30%. Increase for currently rated insomnia, 30%. For PTSD, a new claim for tinnitus, new claim for sleep apnea, and a new claim for hearing loss. I received a letter awarding an increase for insomnia and PTSD, awarding 10% for tinnitus, but sleep apnea and hearing loss were deferred. I submitted a higher level review for my migraines because I wasn't given a CMP exam. Okay, I don't see the rest of that question. But I would generally say you were right in going the higher level review route. If you were already rated for migraines and you put in for an increase, you should have gotten an exam. That's a no-brainer. Let's see, I still can't see the rest of that question. Let's see if I can see it. Okay. The rest of the question says, I submitted for a higher level review for my migraines because I wasn't given a CMP exam and I felt my PTSD insomnia clearly should have been higher. 3 weeks later, I got another letter awarding sleep apnea 50% and hearing loss, not service connected. But now I'm 100% total and permanent. Question, can the HRR affect my recently awarded 100 total and permanent? Can you rescind your HRR request? It shouldn't affect your 100% total and permanent because you're just putting in unless they decrease your migraines, and you're putting in for an increase for migraines. So unless the examiner decreases and that would decrease your overall percentage, then it won't affect your rating. And yes, you can withdraw a higher level review request. You just have to put it in writing and send it to the VA. How to address an incorrect effective date. My original date was November 29, 2016. I won an appeal February 2018, 2020. They stated that February 28, 2020 was my effective date. Did you continuously pursue the claim since November 29, 2016? That doesn't sound right because your effective date should at least be the date of the exam at minimum. Have you gotten the award, the BVA decision yet, or the SODRO decision yet? And have you actually looked at the letter? I wouldn't go by what's on eBenefits or VA.gov. You have to go by what they put in writing. How do I go about linking secondary conditions, and does total and permanent apply to any percentage or just 100%? Linking secondary conditions is as simple as claiming a condition secondary to the primary condition. I would, just as a matter of evidence and letting the VO know exactly what an examiner know what your intention was in claiming something, I would submit a statement with the two lay evidence that says, I believe my back pain is causing my hypertension. I believe my back pain is causing insomnia because I can't sleep at night. These are my current symptoms. And I believe per the VA's duty to assist, I should be given an examination for this condition. Thank you. It's something as simple as that, is that what I would add as evidence to my claim. And does permanent and total and permanent apply to any percentage or just 100%? It just applies to 100%. You can be IU unemployable, permanent and total too, but generally permanent and total only applies to 100%. Yes, it was. Continue waiting on the letter, and it was off eBenefits. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. I hope your letter gives you the correct date and it goes back to 2016. Hi, everyone. If you have questions, put them in the comment section and I'll get to them in order that they are received. My husband put a claim in for PTSD in October. 2 weeks ago, everything disappeared out of eBenefits. We have letters showing they received a claim. What do we need to do to get this back on eBenefits? Basically, you need to see what the letter says. They're going to send you a letter that says something about why the claim was rejected. It could have been that the claim was on the wrong form. In that case, they're going to send you a request for application letter. If his PTSD has been previously denied, it needs to go on a supplemental claim form. Any condition that you're claiming that has been previously denied needs to go on a supplemental claim form and not a new 526 EZ. So I suspect that's the most likely culprit of why it disappeared. The VA is sending out tons of those letters. At this point, with the new AMA, people just don't know what to put on what form. And so, but I wait for the letter telling you something. It's going to tell you something. They don't just cancel claims and say nothing. Can your claim be approved with most of your medical evidence comes from your civilian doctor, DBQ, Nexus letter, and buddy statement? Yes. Those things are really, really helpful. The VA is supposed to, at the agency, well, the Board of Veterans Appeals and the court too, supposed to give weight to evidence, assign different weight based on how probative it is. That's how relevant, how in-depth, who was written by, whether it's written by a nurse practitioner or a doctor. They're supposed to assign different weights to evidence. And by providing all that, and if it's detailed and says what it should say in the VA language, they're probably going to attribute significant weight to that evidence. If a denial was in 2009, does that also have to be on a supplemental claim form? Yes. Even if it's been more than a year, it has to be on a supplemental claim form, not the 526 EZ. Is it normal for an expedited case to still take a few months? I thought the decision would be done not long after my CMP exams. Yes, it's absolutely normal. There are so many requests for things to get expedited that it just really doesn't get expedited unless the veteran is like terminally ill. But if you get a good representative, they'll know how to navigate systems and get your claim back on track. If sometimes in the system it misses a step, or it doesn't tell, processes don't speak to each other, or tell the system that your claim has received CMP exams back, so it doesn't move automatically to the next step, and it has to wait till somebody manually touches it for it to go to the next step. That's why things take a long time sometimes, because the tracking is off. Also, it could be that the VA has sent you a request for something. Those are usually 30-day letters, and they give you 30 days to respond with what they're asking for. Could be lay evidence, could be private medical records, could be something else dealing with your claim. But make sure you read all letters thoroughly that you get from the VA. If you get a letter say that we're working on your claim, there's usually a next section that tells you what the next section is going to tell you what's going to happen. It's going to tell you if they ordered an exam. It's going to tell you what they feel like they still need for your claim, and that should help you greatly. Is it hard to put in a claim for asthma? Developed nasal polyps also. It's not hard to put it in a claim for asthma. Hopefully you had evidence in service of asthma or some symptoms of asthma that can be traced back on that claim. That would make your claim much easier. Had a VES exam today for sleep disturbances and insomnia. Physician asked about my upbringing till currently. Is that typical? That's extremely normal. And those type of exams, they ask about your pre-military history, your military history, your history after the military, marital issues, family issues, legal issues, anything else they can pin your situation on, they will try. But hopefully you held fast to it, the military or whatever condition is causing your sleep disturbances, insomnia, and examiner will recognize that. How hard is it to get sleep apnea secondary to PTSD? This is an interesting question because I can't give a definite answer. What I can say is there's still some in the medical community that question the relationship. There's some writings out there that say that it's inconclusive. There's not really much that says which comes first, PTSD or sleep apnea. And then there's some examiners that say, yeah, definitely a relationship, and they provide medical literature that's saying that it is connected. What I suggest is if you're going to claim PTSD secondary to sleep apnea, that you go on PubMed.gov, PubMed.gov, and find some medical literature that links the two and submit it with your claim. Make the job for the examiner easier. I know veterans have a lot easier time getting this connected with a private Nexus letter or opinion. So I've seen the same thing happen with headaches. Some doctors say that PTSD causes headaches. Some doctors say it doesn't. And I don't get why the VA allows it to be across the spectrum. If it can be for one veteran, then it can be for another. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I wasn't given a CMP exam, and I felt my PTSD insomnia clearly should have been higher. 3 weeks later, I got another letter awarding sleep apnea 50% and hearing loss not service connected. But now I'm 100% total and permanent. Question, can the HLR affect my recently awarded 100% total and permanent? Can you rescind your request for HLR? I believe I previously answered that, but yes, you can withdraw any claim at any time before a decision is made. I just recently had my 4th left knee surgery, service connected. I have also had issues with my right knee that is not service connected. How do I go about getting it secondary to my left knee? If you have never put in a claim for your right knee and it's never been denied, then you just need to submit either on e-benefits, get through the application and get to the part that says disabilities, and your left knee will show up and it will give you the option to claim something secondary. Press that secondary button, type in right knee condition, right knee pain, finish the application, and you're good to go. If you want to do the paper application, you need to use a 526 EZ and just write right knee condition secondary to left knee condition and send it in. It's just that simple. Glad to see so many of you on tonight. Can I link diabetes secondary to a crippling lower body injury which eliminated my ability to run and have progressively been gaining weight since the injury? Yes, diabetes can be linked to obesity or weight gain and that type of thing, but I would suggest an outside medical opinion for this type of claim. First of all, if you're just going to claim diabetes secondary to your lower body injury, it doesn't really tell the examiner that what you're really seeking is because you gained weight. You gained weight because of the injury, and that's why you're claiming diabetes. So I would include, not with your claim, a statement that says this is the link or the theory that I was going for, or that I'm going for when claiming this condition. I believe because of my inability to run, my inability to exercise due to a crippling lower body injury, that I've gained weight, and that weight and my weight problem has thus caused my disabilities. My diabetes. Something to that degree. That was a little all over the place, but you know what I mean. If a supplemental claim for denial in 2009, if it is a supplemental claim for denial in 2009, does that cause a new effective date if the claim gets approved, or can it get backdated to 2009? This is where effective date law gets in depth, and there are very few exceptions to the effective date law that says your effective date is the date of claim. Unless it was continuously pursued since 2009, which means not more than 365 days lapsed between any two claims a year, which it doesn't sound like you've pursued it based on your previous question all the way since 2009, then the effective date is only going to be the date of claim. Now, there is a little used rule that says if new service department records, which means records from the National Personnel Record Center, or official records for the military, or military personnel records, new service treatment records, happen to appear now in 2020, and those records are used for the basis for a decision, the new decision, and you get approved, that the VA can go back to 2009 and reconsider your claim. But those situations are, I don't want to say rare. It happens more often than we probably think, but it's not common. Usually, the supplemental claim for denial that far back would be the date of the new claim. So if you put it in today, you would get paid from today. Unless you can find a way that the VA should go back to 2009, there's something that shows up that they didn't have that would have caused them to make a different decision. I was denied for Gulf War illness. Can I do a supplemental claim and request to BVA to look at my claim under direct service connection instead? And can I request for a new exam? I know Gulf War is hard to get approved, but this is my struggle. Yes, you can request direct service connection. They likely will want some new evidence besides that. So I would write a statement out exactly what you're requesting and why you're requesting it. So I believe this is directly connected to my service rather than due to Gulf War illness. And I should be granted new exams per the VA's duty to assist. This is a good question. Can you submit a supplemental claim and increase in at the same time? Yes. You can appeal a previous rating, which is essentially what you're doing with a supplemental claim, and put in for an increase at the same time. That's doable and possible. How much weight does a letter from the WTC Health Program, Warrior Transition, I'm assuming, health program that certifies a condition as being significantly caused, World Trade Center Health Program, that certifies a condition as being significantly caused by 9/11, hold for trying to get VA service connection? These are medically approved, diagnosed, and treated under the WTC program. Certification comes from the CDC, National Institute for Occupational and Safety Hazard. Please forgive me, I'm not familiar with the WTC Health Program. I know that it exists. I've heard of it before, but I'm not intimately familiar with it. And so what I would say, based off my limited knowledge of the program, is that if the VA can pin your disability on something after service or something else besides service, then they will do that. If there's a vent in between your service and your condition, say you had a back injury in service in 2010, 2015, you got in a car accident, 2000, it didn't hurt your back. 2016, you're put in a claim for your back injury. The VA is going to say your back injury is due to the car accident and not due to the injury in service. But if you were serving during 9/11 and active duty, and these are the cause that is the cause for your disabilities, your health problems, then certainly put in a claim for it. You have a great case, and it should be service connected. Why are some claims lowered? I hope that's not too broad. I'm assuming you're talking about a rating percentage being reduced. There's all types of reasons, but the main one is that an examiner writes that the condition has improved. And so because they put the condition has improved, the VA goes to lower it. Now, there are some protections for ratings. There's some protections at 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. At 20 years, they can't lower it unless it's, 10 years, I believe they can't lower or sever your rating unless it's due to fraud. The law also says that your rating shouldn't be reduced unless there's long-term or sustained improvement, which means over a period of time. I'm of the opinion, and I always argue, that one exam doesn't show sustained improvement, doesn't show improvement over time, and it can't be used to reduce. That's an interesting question. Claims are lowered for all different kinds of reasons, but that's the main one that has showed improvement. How is determined for total and permanent status? How is total and permanent status determined? Basically, the rater is up to the rater who's making the decision that your disabilities aren't likely to improve, and thus they get rated as static. And if you get to 100% and all your disabilities are static, which means not likely to improve, then you're going to get total and permanent status. If you get to 100% and the VA feels like something is likely to improve, they're only going to rate you 100% scheduler, which means just a flat 100%. None of the benefits that come with total and permanent. I see this a lot with PTSD claims that are rated 100% just for PTSD. The rater will say there's some likelihood of it getting better, and they will schedule future exams for it, which puts the veteran in limbo for a number of years. But there, you can also request permanent and total status. I've posted a blog before on how to do that, but basically just send out something written with exactly what you're trying to do, and ask the VA to be permanent and total, and they're likely going to assume it's a claim for increase and send you to another exam. But you have a chance of becoming total and permanent too. There is some risk of reduction with that, so you want to make sure that your condition has not improved and that type of thing before you would do something like that. I hope that made sense. I was service connected and approved for low rating. I have documentation to prove bilateral in both feet. I submitted a supplemental request since I'm in the first year. Did I submit the wrong form? If you hadn't claimed the feet before, or the feet have not been denied before, then yes, you used the wrong form. If your feet had been previously denied, then you used the right form. If one foot had been denied, but not the other foot, then you have to put those requests on two separate forms. And with the supplemental claim, you have to have new and relevant evidence. So I think I'm understanding your question right, but it just depends on if it has been denied before. I was service connected and approved for a low rating. I have documentation to approve bilateral in both feet. I submitted a supplemental claim request since I'm in the first year. Did I submit the wrong form? If you are already service connected for it and just claiming an increase, then yes, you submitted the wrong form. You should have submitted the 526 EZ. And the VA does not make which form to use easy to understand. They keep making more forms and don't explain them very well. But you need to use the original form for disability if the feet are already service connected. Who or how is decided on how far back to go back for back pay if your claim is approved? That's an interesting question. It's decided usually by, I explained this just a few minutes ago, by the date of claim. So if you put in a claim today, you put in a claim 10 years ago and it was denied, then you put in a claim today and you haven't continuously pursued that claim, which pretty much means put in a claim or appeal every year, or had an appeal that lasted 5 years, and you filled up the whole 10 years with that same claim, then it's not going to go back to that further date. In order to go back to the original date or the furthest date, a claim has to be continuously pursued and prosecuted. I hope that makes sense. But usually it's from the date of claim. Can you post that email address and the link regarding PTSD or sleep apnea? Yes, I'll post it right now. Let me check that. I believe that's correct. PubMed.gov. Yes, that's the correct address. www.pubmed.gov. There's tons of medical research up there. Please use it for your claims. Another asthma question. I developed asthma after military. Was 19K tank crew member. Exposed to a lot of fuel vapors, dust, and smoke. Denied before. I would say that you need to get a private provider's Nexus letter, or your VA provider, if they'll write one, making the connection. If the VA has already denied it before, then you need new and relevant evidence to reopen it. Well, they don't use the term reopen anymore, but get the VA to look at it again. And the law says that anything that any condition that occurs after service that is clearly related to service should be service connected to. The VA doesn't like that rule, but it's there. Is it normal for appeals to take 5 years? At one point, it was normal for appeals to take 5 years. I don't think that's the case anymore. The newer appeals, and under the AMA, it was supposed to speed things along. So generally these days, higher level reviews are taking 3 to 6 months. Supplemental claims can take just about the same time frame, 3, 5, 6 months. Higher level reviews, the supplemental claims, and then there's appeals to the board, and that's going to take you at least a year in most cases. So is it normal for an appeal to take 5 years if it was in the legacy system, which is the system that was in place before February 19, 2019? You filed an appeal before then. It was pretty normal for appeals to take a long time, especially if you requested a hearing in your appeal. But these days it's moving a lot quicker when you compare it to 5 years. How do you properly rescind a claim that was submitted improperly? What form do I use to send it in to do it correctly? If you submitted a claim on the wrong form, the VA is going to send you a letter, and it's called a request for application letter, and tell you that you submitted a claim on the wrong form. What form do I use to send it in correctly? You use the correct form. If you were supposed to use a supplemental claim form, but you use the 526EZ, then you use the supplemental claim form. If you were supposed to use a 526EZ, which is the original application for disability, and you use the supplemental claim form, then you need to use the 526EZ. If you have just realized that you sent in the wrong form, then go ahead and send in the right form. In the event that you really don't know what form to send in and you haven't submitted a claim yet, send both forms. They have to take the one that's correct. At this point, the form game is messing a lot of people up, and then they send you that letter, and then vets don't take action on it. But don't let your claim fall because of that. Keep pursuing your claim. Just make sure it's on the right form. How do you rescind the HLR? If it's before the decision has been made, then you just need to submit it in writing to the VA, telling them that you want to withdraw your claim. You can also call to withdraw your claim, but I prefer using a paper trail. What will be the next step if your appeal got denied? Depends on which level it got denied at. If it got denied at the GRO review level, then I would likely take it to the board. But under the Appeals Modernization Act, which came into effect February 19, 2019, you have options. So you can present new and relevant evidence and submit a supplemental claim if your appeal got denied. If it got denied by the BVA, you can find new and relevant evidence and submit that in a supplemental claim. If it was denied on HLR, which is higher level review, then you can take it to the BVA, Board of Veterans Appeals. If the supplemental claim is denied, then you can take it to the higher level review. Just depends if it's in the legacy process, which is the old appeals process, or a new appeals process, and what level it was denied at. But whatever level it was denied at, keep pursuing your claim. It holds the effective date. How can you connect IBS under Gulf War illness or under direct services? IBS is presumptive under Gulf War illness. So if the examiner finds that you have Gulf War illness and IBS, I believe it's presumptive, then it should be service connected. But they're gonna ask an examiner, does that disability pattern represent an medically unexplained illness or undiagnosed illness and that type of thing? And if you had a pattern in service of going to the doctor for IBS or complaints of IBS, or you can get buddy statements about your IBS in service, spouse statement, write your own statement, and send that in, then you should get an exam for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I had surgery on my stomach for hernia and splitting of my abdominal wall. I received 0% rating. I am still also having pain from scar and have limitations. What can I do to submit an increase? You just need to submit an increase. Anything that is a limitation secondary to that surgery, then you need to claim it secondary. Make sure they have the scar rated. I'm assuming now it's rated at 0%, but put in an increase for that scar and tell the examiner that it's painful, it hurts you, and that should get you a higher rating. Can you speak to linking sleep apnea to various mental health conditions or other conditions that sleep apnea can be secondary to? There's a slew of conditions that PTSD can be secondary to. Let's see. I'm going to name some of them. I mean, just pretty much any mental health condition. Can be secondary to allergic rhinitis, asthma. Of course, anything in the respiratory area would definitely be a valid connection. I've seen a doctor make that connection many times. Back pain, neck injuries, chronic pain, sinusitis, and a lung condition, deviated spectrum, septum, GERD. I've seen it connected to GERD, high blood pressure, secondary to weight gain. If the weight gain causes sleep apnea and there's something else, say for instance your ankle is hurt and you can't run or exercise like you used to, then that you can, if you gained weight because of that, you can service connected to that. I just got a veteran service connected for ankle pain secondary to hypertension. And I know that makes no sense. I mean, it sounds like it makes no sense, but his hypertension caused what is called orthostatic hypertension. It's when you get up and you move too fast and you feel like a pressure in your head or something like that, and you have to stop for a minute. Well, his gets so bad that he passes out. So when his blood pressure got up and he went to get up, and he fainted and broke his ankle. And so, I mean, there's all types of things it can be secondary to. Sleep apnea is one of those things that a lot of veterans seem to have. I was denied a Gulf War syndrome claim. What step do I need to take to get it approved? I was also denied sleep apnea. I'm currently rated for PTSD with secondary headaches. A lot of times you can appeal the denial of a Gulf War syndrome claim. I'm going to tell you the truth. A lot of examiners don't understand Gulf War syndrome. A lot of them get it wrong. And sometimes you have to take it to the Board of Veterans Appeals for them to really pay attention to it and get it right. Did you claim sleep apnea straight out as direct service connected, or did you claim it secondary to PTSD? You might, if you tried it as direct service connection, you might want to try it as secondary now, to the PTSD and to the headaches. I submitted my fully developed claim February 13th. Is it a bad sign that they're going to be finished with it March 6th? It's for PTSD. Thank you. And increased anxiety also. It's not a bad sign. I mean, if you submitted everything that was necessary, you have a diagnosis from the VA of PTSD, then and you gave them everything they needed to rate the claim, could be a good sign, could be neutral. You just have to wait until you get that letter to see. Or if you have a good representative, they can follow your claim along in BBMS and tell you what's going on with it. I suffered MST and was court-martialed to testify against Sergeant who was charged and sent to Fort Leavenworth. I'm diagnosed with major depression. Can I put in for MST? You certainly can. But if you're already service-connected for depression, it's MST and depression are rated the same. They both can't be rated together. It's considered pyramiding. So what they're going to do is they're going to put PTSD with depression if you claim both of them, but they're going to combine the rating and give you the highest rating. On exam, a doctor is usually going to say that depression is, I'm not a medical professional, but I've seen enough to know that depression is a symptom of PTSD. That's what they commonly say. And so if you're already service connected for depression, pretty much all you need to do, you don't need to go through the trauma of reliving that MST. You just need to put in an increase for depression if you feel like it's gotten worse. And if you go there and you describe the incident and the examiner feels like it's PTSD, they can write that this is a progression of the depression and it's turned into PTSD, and you'll get rated for PTSD. Can you use documentation from the BVA and PubMed .gov website instead of a Nexus if you can't get a Nexus statement written by a provider? I certainly would try. I'm not going to tell you that it will be accepted, but it's new evidence and it's showing the theory that you're trying to prove service connection on. I found articles about diabetes secondary to depression and anxiety, even though they say it can cause elevated blood sugar. I can't get it written without paying for it. I will submit a personal statement on why you feel secondary, the symptoms that you have, and all the articles and BVA decisions and PubMed research you can find are making it secondary. Go for it. What about rectal cancer due to Gulf War illness? It depends on the fact pattern. If you had some type of rectal issues in service, there were some symptoms, you can try to connect that to the cancer out of service. Certainly if you had the cancer in service, it's service connectable out of service. A doctor might say though that rectal cancer is a diagnosable known disease. It might not fit in the Gulf War illness spectrum. Gulf War illness is one of those things that the medical community is just not that familiar with. They get it wrong all the time, and it's usually the board that gets it straightened out. So if you're pursuing Gulf War illness, definitely get some representation. Get a BSO, get a claims agent, get an attorney. If you've been denied Gulf War illness, and get somebody fighting for you on your side. Rectal cancer. It's just a matter of having shown symptoms in service and it continued out of service and it grew into something and something else. If you had a hip replacement and it starts to hurt the other hip, do I put in a claim for my other hip? Yes, definitely. Do it ASAP. Is there anyone that can review personal statements? That's what the group is for. I mean, just post the text. You can leave out your personal information or redact any real personal details, and let us help you. Let us as a group help you review your statements. There are some more skilled people in the group that, I mean, if you send it to them, they might have the time to look at it. But generally, you just want to run it by somebody to proofread or something like that and get it sent in. I have a claim currently in higher level review. It's been almost 3 months. How long is this process? I'm seeing, and at first, higher level reviews were only taking like 2 weeks, 30 days, but I have a ton of them in right now, and I'm seeing it take at least 3 months. That's at least 3 months, whereas before it was 30 days. So I think they're just getting more and more of them in the new appeals process. People understand that, you know, a higher level review could turn your decision around ASAP, and they're taking advantage of it. You get the chance to talk to the rater for probably the first time in the process of filing your claim. And it's a really good option if there's obvious error and or some law wasn't followed in your claim decision. How likely is it to claim insomnia secondary to tinnitus? I've seen it. It's all about the examiner and the medical research that they're familiar with. If you could find your own medical research or reputable medical research that shows that insomnia can be linked to tinnitus, I would definitely submit that with your claim. I will submit a statement with your claim, a personal statement, and it won't harm you to try. My examiner flat out lied about examining my feet in a CMP exam. How can I get another exam? Because he told me to lose weight, never touched my feet, and walked me out after about 10 or 11 questions. I would type that up in the statement, send it to the VA as soon as possible after the exam, and request a new exam. If you've already been denied for it, ask for a higher level review and an informal conference. Explain to the person what happened, that you feel like it was an inadequate exam. Per the VA's duty to assist, they didn't get their, should get, if they're going to give you a medical examination, it needs to be adequate, and it wasn't adequate. If he asked you 10 or 11 questions, that's a good bit of asking, though. The examiner sometimes can just look at your feet, and medical professionals have all types of ways of doing things, but he probably just looked at you and assumed you were obese or a little overweight, and said it's not even worth touching the feet. He already had it made up in his mind. But I would definitely try to fight it. You can also get a private provider's Nexus letter connecting the two. Your VA provider, if they're willing to write it, if they're willing even to write something in your treatment notes that says it's more likely than not that his fit condition is connected to service or either another service-connected condition. I was denied sleep apnea and wanted to get a Nexus letter if possible. It was denied, stating that the medical evidence said it shouldn't be, even though I was diagnosed while in service. Oh, that's ridiculous. I would fight that every way I could. If you need to, get a good representative and go for it. But If you were diagnosed with sleep apnea in service, you still have it out of service, then I would definitely fight that decision. You have good grounds. I need help starting this process. Where would I start? I would direct you to a VSO, Veteran Service Officer. Your county likely has them, the DAV, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Purple Heart Group, Wounded Warrior Project. All these people have what you call Veteran Service Officers, and they will help you get started in the process. They should be knowledgeable in VA law, VA realm of things, VA world, and be able to get you on a good, solid, put in good, solid claims, review your medical records, see what your problems were, help you get statements together or other relevant evidence, and get your claim started. I would definitely suggest you starting with the VSO. Now, if it gets denied and you don't know how to navigate it yourself, that's when I suggest calling a claims agent or attorney. But there are lots of people that do this process themselves, and they are able to win. They get if you follow the group, you read a lot of posts, you do your own study. All the information is public. You can handle this process yourself. But if it just feels like it's too much, it's overwhelming, you don't have the time to navigate it, then you need to get some help. I always say you got to treat your claim like a job. You just got to learn the material, and you still, even if somebody else is working on your claim, you still want to be a little bit knowledgeable about the process. So this group is a great place to start, but you definitely want to get with the Veteran Service Officer and start your claim. I was denied PTSD MST because they stated they needed a credible witness. I appealed and I got family and friends to write letters. I was seen by a doctor 2 weeks ago. How long does it take to get a response for the appeal? Appeals these days are taking about a year at the board. So it depends on what type of appeal you put in. Is it a supplemental claim, higher level review, or board appeal? But yeah, it's going to take some time. What if you have had symptoms of fibromyalgia while active duty, but was not diagnosed until 20 years later? If I claim fibro, will they look at the symptoms and make the connection? A doctor might. All depends on how good the examiner is. But you need to write a statement and, connect the dots for them. In that 20 years, did you have any treatment? Get those private treatment records. You want to have had, it needs to show that it was chronic. And I don't mean you have to have gone to the doctor every day, even if you went once every 2 years or, something like that. You just need some evidence that is somehow connected. Denied GERD for new claim. Can I put in new claim for secondary to asthma and all the meds I'm on? Yes, you can. Just clearly say that it's due to medication you take for asthma in your claim. You could literally on your claim put GERD secondary to medication for asthma. I was recently diagnosed with PTSD due to assault. I have a CM appointment Friday to get it service connected. Only thing that I've been out since 2004 and was just embarrassed to tell the story until now. Tell your story. The examiner is going to be looking for if there was any markers in service, which like performance decline, weight gain, crying spells, unexplained behavior, any changes that occurred in service. That's what the examiner is going to be looking for on your records. But if those things are not there, still tell your story. As long as you're standing on the truth, that's what's going to help you the most. So keep fighting, and hopefully you're victorious. I had PTSD. My mental health doctor referred me out to a sleep clinic, and I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. Do I need a Nexus letter to get it connected secondary to PTSD? Yes. If the examiner, if you claim it secondary and the VA examiner won't give you that Nexus opinion, or you don't want to rely on the VA to do it, then yes, you need to get a private provider's Nexus letter. How long does a supplemental claim take? I'm seeing 3 to 6 months right now, and I have a ton of them in. I have multiple claims that have been deferred last month. I've had them in for over a year, now being deferred. What should I expect next? They probably sent them back out to request some type of clarification from the examiner. If you have a BSO claims agent representative, they should be able to look in the system and tell you exactly why it was deferred and what's going on with it. If you're doing it yourself, then I would suggest just getting a BSO so they can look in the system for you. There's nothing wrong with that. When I have my appeal to judge in May, I will be represented by a local BSO. I'm a lifetime member of DAV. So should I try to get a DAV rep to be there as well? If you're taking one service officer, you really don't need to take two. There's no reason to do that. If you feel like your local VSO is competent, can handle it, knows VA world, and if they're going to make a good argument for you, then go with them. How do I get a bilateral rating for my left knee? Right knee already 10%. Atrophy and torn calf muscle due to overuse and painful. You need to put in your left knee secondary to your right knee. It's just that simple. Put in a claim for your left knee secondary to your right knee. If you're 40% in one area and have a total of 70%, can you put in for unemployable? Yes. I have a supplemental claim in progress. I have 2 supplemental claims in progress. One submitted in January, the other in February. Both are still open, but the February claim has compensation issue listed. Any idea what that means? It just depends on what you claimed, and it might need to go through a review by somebody higher up before it gets, put in the system the correct way. But compensation is certain. I mean, obviously at issue. It's just a matter of what condition it is. And so I really don't know what that means without looking further into your file. One more question if possible. I had surgery on my left shoulder in 2011, and now I'm having trouble with my right shoulder. Should I put in a claim for the right? Yes, you can do that secondary to your left shoulder. All right, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I hope you had a wonderful Super Tuesday. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Remember on replay that this is not live, so I won't be answering questions live. But thank you all for joining us, and please go in the group, ask your questions, contribute to others' questions, and let's keep everything respectful and a wonderful community. All righty, y'all take care.